If you struggle with identity, maybe this video will help you. I cannot remember a time when I didn't struggle with identity. When I was 10, I had this friend in the neighborhood named Anessa. She was a blonde girl, free spirit, always wearing belly shirts, which used to stress me out when she'd come around my religious parents. But they never said anything. I think they liked her, and I liked her too. Besides the belly shirt, I felt like me and her were the same. We were both adventurous, loved riding our bikes together, rollerblading. It was always a good time when we hung out. Until one day when something happened in the world that was way bigger than me or her. I was overcome with this feeling like I had some serious explaining to do. Hey, I have to tell you something. You know those guys who crashed the Twin Towers? They were Muslim. I'm Muslim. I was so worried that when I would tell her the truth, it would make her never want to see me again. And as she dangled her legs off the electrical box she was sitting on, she said so nonchalantly, "It's okay. My dad's German." I was so relieved at her reaction. Suddenly, that massive crack between us had a bridge. Everything was fine. This weight was lifted off my shoulders. And then, I don't know what possessed me, but we were being vulnerable with each other, and I thought, I don't want this girl to go to hell. Like, this is a great time for me to tell her, you should be Muslim. No, I don't think I want to do that. You can't celebrate Christmas, Halloween, none of it anymore. I actually did end up getting into a fight, and I went home and my parents were like, what happened? I was like, well, that silly, foolish girl. I told her about 9/11, my peoples. And then I told her that she needs to stop celebrating haram things. She needs to be Muslim. And you know what they did? They made me go and apologize to her. Chapter 1, the real problem. I feel like my upbringing is a major reason why I have a lot of identity issues. Like, I've seen other brown kids or Muslim people who don't seem to struggle with identity issues as much as I do, or so it seems on the surface. Like, they would mingle with people outside of their culture or religion, and all of their friends were like Anessa, but not me. No. Like, I was always surrounded by people who were like me. So most of my friends were always like me, besides maybe a couple kids in the neighborhood, like Anessa here and there. Like, I lived in an extremely white American place. That's where we immigrated to. But yet I went to a religious private school, and then on the weekends my family mingled with other Desi people. So overall, most of the people that I interacted with, they were from Pakistan, Morocco, Palestine, Egypt, Iran, India, Turkey, Kashmir, Syria, Saudi Arabia. Like, and if they were white, they were half. And so in this really weird way, I had a really diverse upbringing that made it difficult for me to relate to or connect with anyone who wasn't Muslim or from another country. And that really started to show when I left that school. I made friends in high school. I was able to make friends in high school, but it was not really something that came easy to me. I also feel like identity was drilled into me, especially Muslim identity, because I went to that religious school in particular. So that was the filter through which I pretty much navigated everything. And I feel like this also made world politics weigh so heavy on me. Like in the story I told in the opening of this video, I was at a very young age very conscious of the fact that I came from another country and that I was a religious minority. I was very conscious of how the West perceived Muslims, like a little too conscious, like where I'm like apologizing for something that had nothing to do with me, like to the point where I feel like I have to confess something that I didn't even do. And it did cause a lot of identity issues. Like, you can watch my video essay about visiting Pakistan when I was in high school, and it kind of dives deeper into some of these things and these themes. But this all also made me a lot more involved politically and like caring about issues that affected the motherland or the countries that my friends were from. Like, I was always very politically aware, active, which again, I think is something that even to this day, when I look at people, I'm like, I'm kind of jealous of you that you get to exist without giving a shit about what's going on in the world. Or am I just like disgusted with you? Like, I don't really have an answer to that. But I always felt like other people didn't really care as much about things the way that I did, or the way that people around me did. But then I went into this phase where I'm like, am I doing this to myself? Like, is the reason that other people can just not care as much, is it because I just am making too much of a conscious effort to pay attention to these things? Like, am I the problem? Chapter 2, am I the problem? So the internet is this cool place where we get to connect, and I found the internet early on, made YouTube videos, and it actually validated me, especially in my 20s. I was like, oh, these things that I go through are much bigger than me, and other people deal with them too. So thank you to my comment section. God bless. Thank you all, because you really, really did help me like grow and navigate a lot of this. And, so after that, I kind of started to think, okay, this is a good thing. Like, minorities have a voice, and we get to talk about things that we go through. Serious systemic issues are being brought to light because of social media, because of these big platforms that, historically we probably never would have access to just share our stories like that. But I don't know, eventually something kind of went sour along the line. And I think what happened is that right wing, left wing politics kind of hijacked the algorithm, and everything became very polarizing. And I just saw this crazy madness around identity politics. And all of a sudden, like, social justice warriors, like the worst thing you could possibly be. And it just spiraled and got even bigger and out of control. And the factions, they happened. And for those of you who don't know, what identity politics refers to political positions and activities that are based on social identities of individuals or groups. So, people will form their groups over race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, whatever else. You can drill even further into that. And then people start advocating for their own interests for those groups. And so on one hand, you could say, like, this is really necessary to address systemic inequalities and ensure that we have like representation and inclusion. But on the other hand, it also, some might say that it leads to a lot of division and prioritizes certain groups over others, which we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing the battles, we're seeing people duke it out. And all of that honestly really started to turn me off, because I started this channel as like a comedy channel. And I was like, I don't even want to make videos about identity anymore. My comment section is so negative. Like, even to this day, I feel like I draw all these weird, angry people to my videos. And I'm like, okay, I'm clearly doing this to myself. Like, for sure. Like, I'm doing this. Like, who told me to make a video about Muslims in France? Okay. And no, it's not just like non-Muslim people or people who are bigots. There's this whole identity politics things even within Muslims online as well. Like, you liberal, feminist, woke Muslim hoe. Like, these are the kind of comments that just like I don't want to make videos. Okay. And I start to feel like, is this identity politics thing? Is this just a social contagion? Like, are we at a point in our lives in the world where we're just like bored and making up problems? And then I have this existential crisis where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm doing this to myself. Like, that's what this all turned into. I was like, this is my fault. Not just online. Like, this can be applied to my whole life. I clearly am doing this to myself. And then October 7th happened, and I'm getting messages about being careful about going outside. Hijabis are getting rocks thrown at them, like people that I know or people in the community. People are getting shot. And then it made me realize again, I'm not doing this to myself. I'm not the problem. Chapter 3. I'm not the problem. Over the last few months, what we've witnessed Palestinians suffer, it has shown us the ugly truths about our world, about colonialism, about the crimes of the Western world, about the value of human life. And disappointing is not even the word. I don't think that there are any words that can describe watching 30,000 plus people just be murdered like it's nothing and nobody's doing anything to stop it. But what it did for me in this identity struggle was it validated, like, hey, you're not making this up. Like, people don't make this up. The struggles that Palestinians are going through, that we're witnessing through the diaspora, the things that they're going to face for generations after generations, it's real. It doesn't matter how unjust or cruel something is. There are these bigger forces at play that shape who gets what in this world. And that's the precedent for everything that comes after. And identity politics, identity issues is just something that comes with that. And so when I get confused about who I am and why I struggle so much with my identity, I shouldn't be gaslighting myself into thinking it's just like some sort of choice I made one day. It's the aftermath of so much history of these huge things that are just much bigger than me. And they unfortunately do have an impact on me. They shape who I've become. They shape who we all become. So before all this happened, I was thinking about it. I was like, I just want to be like other people. I don't want to worry about these things. I'm clearly doing it to myself. And then Palestine really woke me up. Like, no, girl, you should not desire to be like people who don't give a shit. about anything or who don't speak up about anything. It's not a good thing. It's a good thing that you care about these things, and more people should. And it also made me feel like it connected a lot of us. It brought a lot of us together for a cause, and you realize you're actually not alone. Chapter 4. You're not alone. So I mentioned that I envied other people who didn't seem to struggle as much as I did with identity. Yes, it's the truth. Some people are not as tapped into it as I was growing up, including people who look like me. But I've come to realize that everybody does have identity struggles at one point or another. Even the kids who are super integrated into American lifestyles and have a bunch of friends like Anessa, at some point, the question of who they are and where they fit in, where they belong, it's gonna come up. Okay. I've seen it. Like, I'm thinking of the movie The Namesake, right? He's at the funeral. He's like, what am I doing with my life? Like, everybody goes through it. And I've had so many interactions with people for whatever reason, they start talking to me about those things. Like, I think this triggers them. Like, they start dumping on me, or they completely avoid me because I'm triggering something in them altogether. And I'll explain what I mean. Like, I went to this party, okay? It was an all-girls party, but people were getting lit, okay? A lot of people were off the juice, okay? It was happening. And I was probably one of the only people there sober. And there were a couple of girls there who were, and one of them kept bringing up Eid. Like, she kept being like, I want to celebrate Eid again. And I was like, I wonder, like, she's not bringing that up because I'm here. Because she also said something else that pissed me off. She was kind of making fun of me for being religious, but she was tipsy, so I'm gonna just not make that a thing on this video. But she kept bringing up, like, I want to celebrate Eid. Oh my God. And then I overheard her talking to somebody, and she's like, yeah, I want to do Eid with her and this and that. And she just kept like word vomiting about her life. And I felt like her identity issues were coming out because of me. And I was like, listen, like, I don't want to do this with you. Okay. Like, I really don't. I have my own problems. Like, honestly, I have my own identity issues. The point of me sharing that is that it doesn't matter how much somebody has like gone into American lifestyle, how not religious they are. At the end of the day, I've even gotten messages about that kind of stuff. Like, I was reminding her of her Muslimness, that part of her identity. And yeah, it was interesting. So although I already knew that everyone deals with it, that also kind of like reinforced that. So, but the thing is, at the end of the day, I think what's really important is just got to live our lives. Chapter 5. Live your life. So if I leave you with one thing from this video besides validating that if you struggle with identity, it's okay, it's that the key to navigating all of this stuff is to not let it stop you from living your life. That's what I was worried about. That's my internal battle, okay? Don't let your identity box you in. I don't want to do that. And that's why I always had this struggle. What happens is when you have identity issues, you can tend to develop a lot of limiting beliefs surrounding what you can and can't do and how to live your life. I'm blank, so I can't do blank. Don't do that. Do the things that you want to do in life, and don't let this, oh, I'm this, so that means I can't do this. Don't let that stop you from living your life to the fullest. Like, I wasted so much of my life doing that, and life is so short. And it's worth digging deeper and exploring the things that you love and connecting with all kinds of people. And I feel like I'm a little late sometimes. I'm taking my time unraveling myself and learning how to be myself. But, outside of these constraints and these narratives of what I believe I am, and I'm not ashamed of the things that I am, but I do feel like sometimes I've really limited myself. And so I'm on the journey of unraveling a lot of that. And if I leave anything with you guys, is that if you struggle with identity, it's okay. And it's something that everybody goes through. Everybody deals with it in some capacity. And you just have to just not let it stop you from being who you want to be. Like, I could sit here and be like, I'm a little Muslim girl who doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. No, I want to ruffle all the feathers. I want to beat your ass. I want to make people laugh. I want to slap you. No, I don't. Why would I want to do that? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. How have you overcome issues with identity? What are you struggling with now? And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye. Bye.